incentives were not aligned.
Yeah, the incentives were not aligned, right?
Also, I remember watching your podcast when it was 100x on iTunes, right? And I wasn't a follower then, but it came on my radar because I keep track of like a lot of content. And then I noticed that you had rebranded it into like a totally different. What was the thought process like, and what was like the impact? Because I know a rebrand to that extent would have been challenging, right? Like everything has to change from.
Yeah. So we hired an external consultant who took ownership and made it a success because we were among his 4 to 5 first projects, right? I can share the agency name also. So it's Witchcraft. They took ownership and they helped us. The challenge was 100x entrepreneur was there's a 100x VC in Mumbai, right? So people were confusing us with them. And some used to come, hey, is this the podcast by 100x VC? And there were so many other, and we had started a full-time fund also. So there are so many funds by name 0 to 1, right? 1 to 100. So numericals were confusing a brand in the ecosystem. So we decided and worked on the name for 6 months. We had to choose out among them.
Have you ever struggled with turning your long-form content into usable content? So super thrilled to announce that today's episode sponsor is Recast Studios, which helps podcasters and creators turn their podcasts and videos into short video clips and show notes and more, all with the help of AI. So visit recast.studio today.
We had to choose out among the 600 names because we know that a branding exercise you can do, let's say, only once in your lifetime when you're changing the name. So we thought, let's pick a name which is very different, right? And which is hard to emulate, hard to copy. That's why we chose Neon, because no VC firm would take a name Neon, because neon is a very bright color.
That makes sense.
But I'm one of the early audience who confused it with 100x VC.
Thank
you. That's how I landed up on 100x. And I think that also works out, right? Like when you have something relatable. In fact, like one thing like I keep coming to, especially for you, because I wanted to ask this. In fact, I wanted to reach out on LinkedIn to ask this, especially because you are in the investment side of things. So, what do you think is going to happen with podcasting, especially because there is a lot of audience for long format content, because there is a conversation. There is a conversation where you are able to understand what the other person's perspective is on subject matters. So, what's the impact of generative AI as a conversational AI on podcasting, especially considering you can train, like for example, right now, like in one of the products that we're working on. In fact, like that is something I want to do is to train models on the podcast, because that's what gives away the thesis of an investor doing away, that nitty-gritties of nuances of the thesis that we might not know just from the website or from their past investments. And especially considering your investment portfolio, where I see there are certain conversational AI related investments that I see. So what do you think is going to be the impact on podcasts specifically, because that's what the conversation is.
So companies are going to replace monologues, like where one creator is speaking and now AI is speaking in front of it and AI avatars are speaking. Like tomorrow, AI can just emulate me and start. But having a dialogue is not possible, because I'm not sure what next question is Roohi is going to ask, and she's not sure what I'm going to answer to make her next question. It's very spontaneous. I think that part is a little far away. That AI is producing a 2 people or 3 people podcast. So AI is not going to disrupt in near future, at least that part of the podcast.
Especially when I think like when we go into the augmented reality world, where like we are avatars of ourselves. Like, I think that's when there can be something that can
maybe then maybe, but possibly in 2-3 years you can do a podcast in virtual reality with somebody, and then I don't know, like it's very unknown domain right now.
One thing like I keep coming to is what if I train 2 bots or 2 different podcasters and let them interact? Like what would the interaction be?
Yeah, but you have to think that they can't emulate the brain right now, because my brain is also thinking in real time right now. It's not just tapping into my existing knowledge, which generative AI does, right? It's tapping into what Roohi is also asking in real time, and So I think it's a little far away to have that. I can only make right now videos which can be completely AI based, where the entire content is written down, right? And Avatar is speaking that content out in my tone, in my voice.
Maybe just go for short format is what I think.
Both short and long format. I think AI can now make 20-minute videos
Yeah.
if the entire 20-minute script is ready.
So especially with faceless,
So-
especially with faceless content, that is also one category in not just podcast but YouTube itself. So I think that's where like I see there is something that can be done, that is being done. In fact, like that I see it used to take like hours and weeks to create a video content for a faceless channel. Now it's taking like few hours is what I've heard from people who are doing it. So it's like changing things in the direction. But yeah, life experiences they can't.
Yeah, I think editing is going through a lot of transformation. Where I used to use traditional tools like Premiere Pro or others for video editing. Now what can happen is generative AI can simplify that. For example, this conversation, the video and the audio, you can dump into a system and tell it like to produce like the content quality should be like Joe Rogan, and edit out the stuff that you find as might not be interesting or incomplete. I think AI can do that. So editing is going through a large transformation, and the editing tool of today might not be there tomorrow.
That's a very interesting point.
Maybe we can take first question instead.
So I had two questions. The first is how do you maintain a community, or what are the activities you do to maintain your existing community?
Can you repeat that and simplify it?
So like, what are the activities you do to maintain a community? With your WhatsApp, or how do you do it at any option?
So it's mostly today we don't actively have a community manager and try to just maintain the community for the sake of it. We get a lot of LinkedIn responses or LinkedIn DMs, and the ones you can figure out which are the quality ones, which are your loyal listeners, right? And you make sure that you respond to them, right? And they are always suggesting what they want next. So we try to build in form of content. What is our audience suggesting us, mostly in YouTube comments. So that is the way we try to maintain a community. Let's say if you have listened to some of my podcasts, either you have put a comment on the YouTube on the same channel that this is the next guest that I would like to have, this is the next topic that I would like to try to do. We take that very seriously. So that also connects the audience, because any audience, like even any podcast that I listen to, let's say I listen to Joe Rogan. Because I listen to Joe Rogan, I now feel that I have a relationship with Joe Rogan.
Absolutely. And the second question is, in future, I want to work in my elder sister in the content space. So, what are the tips you would give on working with family?
I think working with family, you can have very high trust that the family, let's say if there are two co-founders who have just met. Now the other co-founder might always feel that, hey, I'm getting less or I'm not. When you work in a family, I think that equation is sorted, because the implicit trust is already there. The drawbacks of it is you're always discussing work. Sure.
So your podcast journey is from past 5 years.
Yeah.
So what's the biggest challenge you have faced when you are podcasting with an guest in experience?
Podcasting within a
Means you asked some the guest some uncomfortable question and he was just like, do you have faced any this challenge
Yes.
in your journey?
So, for example, we always ask the questions that we feel that can take us to a journey of truth, whether they are uncomfortable. And sometimes it happened, the guest refuses on the podcast to answer them. So there is no other way. But what I have felt is most people who have accomplished in their life are less insecure. They take time to answer uncomfortable question, but they answer it. They have never shied away from it. I think only people who are little insecure about anything, they would shy from answering anything uncomfortable, because people who are secure, for them truth is truth, right, irrespective of whether they tell or not.
So do you done any edit after publishing the video? Maybe they can ask me.
It's very, very less that a guest would, let's say 1 in 20, 30 episode, a guest would come to us and say, hey, edit this part before publishing.
So final question, sir. Did you get threats from other people that why you publish it, why you just
No, fortunately not right now. I think there are a lot of threads in YouTube comments, but
yeah. Just when we discuss about some people is talking about their ex-boss, about like them. When you particularly you are asking morely about the political podcast right now. We are doing this.
no, we are asking about policy making. We are
Yeah,
not doing
policy
political podcast.
So
We are discussing about what caused India so much time to go on a path to become a developing nation at such a fast pace, and what can make India a developed nation in the next 5 to 10 years. That's the thesis that we have right now.
Hi Siddharth, my name is Shobhit. So I am a digital trainer. I have my courses and I am doing a lot of organic marketing on LinkedIn, Facebook and Instagram as well. I have a YouTube channel and I have some recorded podcast online mostly with different people. So my question is that mostly what I see full-time podcasters, podcast is their main business and through them they are generating revenue, like sponsorship, advertisements, what you also mentioned. But I'm very clear that my long-term goal is to create my own intellectual property of my own courses. For me, podcast is a personal brand where I get more leads for the end product that I have. So two-part question. Part one is that a good strategy to use podcast for your lead generation in the long term? Secondly, if yes, what is the best strategy to create content in that fashion when you are not focusing on the organic leads? Like when I say leads, as in like people who are watching the podcast and they are getting plugins there and there. Okay, you can back end pay, you can take this program or sponsorship or advertisement. What I'm doing is I want them to come to my paid programs. That's what I want indirectly.
I think
So
maybe
what should be the strategy for that?
I have a different view on it. Podcasting might not solve that purpose,
Okay.
but if you are building courses which are paid, the best organic way to get audience to get them to is give them free stuff on YouTube. And once they are hooked to free stuff on YouTube, they'll definitely come to the paid stuff if they find value in the free stuff.
So exactly. So free stuff, I know like I have to give valuable content in terms of videos. So the valuable content can be formed in podcast or not. It should be
But
individual videos.
but the final content then should be in the form of a podcast or a two-way conversation. But because you're saying, hey, there's a podcast that I'm doing on a different topic, or even let's say on digital marketing, and the course is on digital marketing. If the purpose is that podcast should lead it to the course, then it might not be the most effective channel. You can still do a podcast.
The reason I ask this question is because I'm studying different podcasters these days. So for example, Raj Shamani, his content is mostly about entrepreneurship, personal growth and all that. And now he's plugging in X, basically the perfume the perfume brand, which I personally feel it's completely disoriented from the content that he's producing.
Yeah.
So what are your views on that?
So Raj Shamani does podcast, but if you remember Raj Shamani's first part of journey, I recorded him on my podcast also. His first million subscribers didn't come through the podcast. It came through short form videos that he produced. And what has podcast helped him is at least elevate the brand so that people start taking him more seriously. I think that's what it has helped them. Because earlier the videos would have been around weight loss or something like that. So even I think that has worked for Ranveer Lavati also, because his first million subscribers came from solo videos. Now because he's getting more serious guests like S. J. Shankar, who is the current foreign minister of India. So people have started taking him more seriously. Because the guests that you are bringing, that conveys the kind of person that you are. So that can help you in, it might not help you in more distribution, but it can help you in people taking the content more seriously. So more conversions might happen, but more reach might not happen. But if your goal is right now to start the business, you need more reach.
Yeah.
you will need conversion only after certain reach is there.
I had one more question. So in the beginning you mentioned that your production value should be really great, and I agree with that. But when you're just starting, and you already answered that in one way, that 50 to 100 videos should be based on your network and don't worry about other things. So the specific question is, online podcast is very convenient. You just have a call and you ask the person. There's a two-way video already there. But getting a physical, conducting a physical podcast just like today, there are some challenges in it. So in the beginning, if I have 15 podcasts today, 14 of them are online, which are very convenient to me. One I did, which money was also involved in that, investment was there, time and efforts were also. So for first 50 to 100, is it okay to go only online, or you would suggest offline?
Yeah, I think the first 100 you can go online. Because the first 100, you should believe that unless until you are Nikhil Kamath, you will not get audience. Right? So it's better to experiment and keep it low cost experiment till you figure out at least a moat in your content, and you figure out what is audience liking about your content, and you get the first 100 loyal listeners to your podcast. It's okay to keep it low cost.
Not a good question, but so you are a quote successful podcast, right? I say quote because I feel like you have a long way to go still. What are some of the challenges in terms of podcasting and distribution that are top of mind for you right now?
So right now, the first challenge for us is keeping the guest bar really high. For example, if we have Sanjeev Sanyal sir who has come now 2 times on a podcast, how do we find more people like him? Right? And some of these people would already have reach among millions. So what can you offer them? Because let's say if you tell them our podcast reaches million, they say I already reached double-digit million. For example, Amish Tripathi, right? His books are read by maybe 1 crore or 10 million people in India. So what can I offer Amish? Is there a different set of audience that I can offer? Right? So that's a challenge that people, because we can't get us satisfied with the bar. We have to always keep raising the bar. And the second is, we are now doing podcasts in person because the quality of conversation is really high than an online podcast, 10 times high. How do you then keep on traveling? Because for every time I have to go to somebody in government of India, I have to travel to Delhi with all the setup and all the team.
So, what's your current thought process to getting better? Is it I would assume a ladder approach?
Keep improving the quality of your guests and do better and better research. For example, we have now recorded 2 podcasts with, again, sorry, take the technical, Sanjeev Sanyal sir. Now for his 3rd episode, whenever I record, I am now preparing his 6 books that he has written. In the first podcast, I listened to all the interviews he had done, even for the second one, but I think for me to ask now better questions is a bigger challenge to him. It can't be repetitive, it can't be something which has come on any other platform. So to research more, now I have to read 6 books.
So you mentioned Amish, right? And when I look at your podcast, I don't think of Amish as a guest that I would want to come to me on show one. So is it daunting for you to think of, hey, I'm expanding my, let's say, the types of content that I'm talking about?
So one thing, I believe in it, maybe some other podcasters or content creators might not believe in it. I'll keep on experimenting with my niche. And the goal of bringing Amish is to ask questions to Amish which I would like to have an answer from him. So it might not be questions based on entertainment, it might be question on how does he write a book. Or a question is how did he dive into mythology and past of India, right? How is he doing his research for his own set of books?
So it seems like the driving factor for the motivator of your podcast has always been intrinsic.
Yeah, it's always intrinsic. It's never extrinsic.
Right.
It's never asking. So if you observe our podcast, we are always going deep, rather than covering breadth. So because I am as a person, I like more depth on a single topic rather than trying to touch every topic in breadth. Maybe breadth works for 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 generic audience, but for audience who are loyal listeners, they would like to see depth.
Do you have like any dream guest as of now that you're kind of working
Like Prime Minister Modi, hopefully one day.
So your quality of the podcast depends on the quality of your
Yeah,
guests,
because
as you said.
after one point of time, you can't improve your video and audio. The only thing that the variable is the guest,
Yes.
the content.
So even with that, like there will be bad days where your guest is at his prime, like where the conversation he wants to have is like really good, but from your point of view, you are not in that state of mind, and that happens often, I believe. So how do you overcome that? Because that's a challenge for everyone, I guess.
I think
in
maybe
every stage of life.
every third or fourth episode will not be of very high quality, but that's okay. You have to do with some of the episodes not meeting your bar.
Like, so the quality of conversation might dip.
Might dip, might dip. They might not get as
Is there
many
any
views.
strategy that's working out for you to overcome that? Like something, anything?
It's just acceptance. There's no. If you keep on thinking about it too much, you will not be able to do the next episode. Sure.
I have two more questions. One is when the guest is with you for the podcast, let's say 12 to 1 is the podcast. What exactly happens before and after the podcast? So what I meant is how much engagement or how much conversation goes with the guest before and after the
So right now, not much. What I try to do is do more and more research, prepare questions, read more, listen to more interviews. So I try to listen to as many interviews of the guest till the point of time I feel that when the person is sitting in front of me, he's known to me, he's not unknown to me. So that kind of level of comfort I like to get.
Because there are a lot of podcasters who mentioned we were just talking before we start. So I just trying to
You can't have a 2-hour conversation and then start a podcast after 2 hours. I think it's practically unrepeatable and unfeasible. Maybe one of the things one of guests will have, but then you are doing a 4 to 5 hour shoot, which I think is a little difficult. Yeah, because you're for the 2 hours you're just chatting and then you start seriously recording after 2 hours. That's what you mentioned, right? Couple of.
So there is one more question which is not related to this podcast, but there is a different angle to it. There's an American-based podcast called Fresh and Fit, which I'm following these days. Now, these guys are very extremist in terms of their content, their views. They're purely anti-feminist, and they are talking about women's rights. And the way they speak is also very, very. Some people can take offense on that, but they are very they are blowing up in great area. Even I'm watching them these days. So in India, I've not seen a podcast which is that extreme in polarizing views. So do you think in India there is a capacity of these kind of topics? Because these topics they are very openly discussing in America.
I think somebody should experiment,
Okay.
but that somebody has to then bear the brunt of maybe police coming to their door. They can get popular really fast,
Okay.
but has to be prepared for negative consequences of this.
So this is from the content creator part. Yes, you mentioned that somebody has to take the lead. But I'm talking from the audience perspective. Do you think India has the appetite for these kind of?
I think audience should maybe ready, and you might get a lot more negative comments in India than the person who is recording the podcast in here. But you have to be a person with thick skin to do that.
So you've talked to a lot of high profile people, right? And you will talk to a lot of even higher profile people in the future. Have you ever experienced an episode where you could sense that the person that you're talking to has some sort of an agenda that they want to talk about? Agenda sounds a strong word, but in my experience, I remember I had an episode with like an author, right? And from the get-go, he was in that mood, like he was locked in that, hey, I have to talk about my book, and I need your distribution to
That has exactly happened to us many times, maybe 5 to 10 times out of the 250 episodes that we have published. That especially with authors, because they are coming with the fixed agenda that they want to promote that book. So if you ask any question that is not related to the book, they might try to bring you back on the book.
Right.
Or somebody has come just to promote their product, a D2C brand. You'll try and maximize to get the airtime on your podcast.
So have you figured out a way to like get them back to the questions that you have?
It's very, so what you can do is record a large amount of content with them, and when you're editing, make sure that it's not too much promotional, else your audience will get it. Audience is smart enough.
Any more questions?
Can you suggest any YouTube strategy?
Sure.
When you only have 1,000 subscribers, what is the strategy for YouTube? Only specifically YouTube, how to grow on YouTube?
So the one thing is, as I said in the podcast also, produce almost movie-like content, right? Your content should almost look like today, if you have to do a podcast like Joe Rogan podcast. I know it's expensive, but there's no shortcut if you want YouTube to help you grow, right? And the other part is you have to keep a balance between, if you are producing, let's say 100 full-length videos, then produce 100 shorts also, so that people can discover a glimpse of your content, and if they like you, then they can enter the main. Because people are very choosy with their attention when they are exploring any new content on YouTube. Like you would yourself prefer to go to people that you have already listened to rather than exploring a new. I remember, like, I have just recently heard Dhruv Rathi, and I have been hearing about him for a long period of time. So it's almost like buying a product. Attention is that way only. You have to see it multiple times before you get a new subscriber.
So people say that people might not see your content, but they will see you if you're consistent. They will remember you.
It's the same way. For example, if you go to a shopping mall and you see a new D2C brand at 5 to 6 different shopping malls, and you see other customers buying their product, at some point of time your trigger will also go, let me also try it. So I think consistency helps there. If people are able to see you in their feed for a long period of time, they might give you a try.
To the neon fund side of things. So what are you looking for your fund to be as a business like going forward? And especially I think B2B SaaS will be the whole sort of thing.
I think we are quite simple as respect to a fund. We are only investing in B2B enterprise SaaS and developer tools built for the US market. I think India time has yet to come where India can make 100 million ARR SaaS companies just from Indian enterprise consumption. It's not possible right now. And we are looking for companies, as I said, that can reach 10 million ARR in 3 to 4 years. Like 10 million is 80 crores of revenue in 3 to 4 years.
At what stage should I invest?
So pre-seed and seed, like at idea stage.
What are some like revenue opportunities in podcast? Like you mentioned sponsorship is one of them.
So sponsorship is one of them, that you can get a regular sponsor. Then this product placements in between the podcasts is one of them. Mostly it's ad driven. Anything with various forms of ads. Like for example, product placement is also ad. For sponsorship is also a type of an ad. Affiliate is also possible. You can put affiliate links. I think the best is still product placement within a podcast.
Okay, I think we should wrap the podcast. It was amazing to hear everybody's questions, and especially Adil and Krishna had some really, and also Shobit had some really great questions to ask to Siddharth. And yeah, so I think that's the podcast